Hey team, I'm Sam, and I've been working hard on making video game stuff because why not? So you can see here, I've been doing this walk cycle. Took 2 weeks, it took forever, and I did this little fireball transformation animation, and those are what I'm going to talk about today. So starting off, we've got our walk. Here's all the finished frames, but let's go back a step. Let's take a look at what we had in the very beginning, which was our roughs. So what I did first was I did just the feet so that I could get the timing for that, and I did the feet separate from the body in case I wanted to offset the movement, so I could move the frames back a little bit on the body to make it look sort of like the legs were influencing the movement of the top half, if that makes sense. And then once we had those, we added the actual weapon itself and some secondary animation. The fold and the cape looks pretty good. And if you look up here, you can see a little more behind the scenes stuff, I guess, with the motion paths. Motion paths are essential for making convincing animation, because if you just go back and forth, it's going to look very robotic. So any movement should have more of a circle, more of a curved arc than a straight line when it's moving from place to place. So that's what I'm doing here. You can see that line on the nose, and then you can see I also did some guides for, you can see that little pink line there. That's the distance that the character is moving with every step. So the feet will move that distance every frame, and the particles coming off of the sword will also move that distance every frame. So you can see when I slowed it down, it even had some guides drawn right on top of the frames themselves, and we can do that because these are just rough frames. So then we get into the tricky part. We get the plume, and as you can see, plume was tricky. So this isn't working because it's just going back and forth, and it's not really making a convincing motion like it's being influenced by the wind. It looks like it's moving by itself. So secondary animation, usually you just draw it straight ahead. You don't guide it out. But for this, since it's a loop, I have to guide it out. So that was a little bit outside of my comfort zone, and we could see it took me many attempts to finally get it right. So later I segmented it like this, and this works. So first I drew this, and then you'll see I keep adding more segments on. And I think those first two segments, you see it and it looks pretty convincing. But then when we get that last one on there, it looks like it's dragging on the floor. It looks like it's not influenced by the wind at all. That's not great. So I tried again. This one is moving a lot better. The movement looks like it's being moved by the wind, but it looked like it was floating behind the character. It didn't look like it was actually attached. So what I did was I took the top segment of the last animation and attached it onto that, and then we finally got something that worked. So moving on to the other thing. This little fireball animation was pretty fun to do. This is an effect animation, which is, again, something that you usually would draw straight ahead. The one thing I didn't do straight ahead was this crouch in the beginning, which you can see if you slow it down that I made the back half and the front half of the character move at a different speed, or move one after the other, more so. And that makes it look a little more lifelike, a little more convincing, and that's a nice little touch. So moving on to the fire effect. There's a lot of ways to animate fire. I spent a long time looking through references and stuff, but the thing I ended up trying to base this off of, because I wanted something that was really punchy and it looked powerful and intimidating, so what I ended up basing this off of was Ken's Shoryuken from Street Fighter 3. So the technique that was used in Street Fighter for this was they had one big fire shape, which you can see it here in my frames, and then everything is kind of either leading into this shape or leading out of this shape. So you can see here, it goes pretty quickly into this shape, and then it kind of lingers on there, and you can see it's not changing too drastically for a while, and then it dissipates. It leaves behind a really distinct shape and a really clear motion. So that's it. Just thought I'd give whoever's interested an update, and I'll get back to work after this. Right now, this game is likely to never come out. It's probably just going to be an overly elaborate demo reel, but if you want to see it become a reality, the best way you can help me out is I have a book, and you can buy the book. It's for kids. I think it's really good. I worked really hard on it, and that's the best way you can support me right now. You could also, of course, hit all the buttons, like, comment, subscribe, do all the things that feed the robot. And that's it. See ya.